All right, everyone. Welcome back to Fandom from Afar. It's everyone's favorite guest back again, Mason, here to do a mid-season NBA preview for us. So, welcome, Mason.
Glad to be back. Excited.
So, it worked out. It was pretty good timing as far as like it's the midway point of the season, but a big point that I wanted to bring you in for is the Knicks and Raptors trade.
Yeah.
And I just think it's fascinating on a bunch of different levels because A, teams hardly ever do a big trade like that in December.
Yeah, 30 games in.
Yeah, and B, you hardly ever see like good player for good player trades. So I kind of want to get your opinion, not only from the Knicks side, but like just your thought on all those factors going into it and how it's impacted the team because it's been about a week now.
Yeah. Well, initially, I think I texted you night of. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so upset." Mainly because I'm a big RJ Barrett fan. I love Quickley, and then just to think that they're gone, which they're, the third and fourth highest scoring players on the team. So immediately you're like, "What are we doing?" You look at the haul back for it, and you're like expecting picks. Like those guys are young. RJ Barrett's like, I think is his fourth year now. He's like 24 years old. Like he's not old.
He's like just coming into his prime.
Yeah. So it's like to see those guys go to get a guy who's in a contract year. It's like, what are we doing? But I mean, I think like I looked into it too, but team fit wise, so far, I mean, it's been exactly what they wanted. So for the team standpoint, it's been great.
I haven't had a chance to watch the Knicks since they got OG. Like, how has he fit in? Like, is he trying to be the man and earn that big contract, or is he fitting in pretty well? Kind of. I look at him as the third guy behind Brunson and Randall.
I mean, he shoots maybe 8 shots a game.
Oh,
so
really?
Like, yeah, his role is 3 and D. Like, I think that's what the whole point behind the trade is. Barrett needs to like have the ball to score points. Same with Quickley, but that's the same with Brunson and Randall. So it's like, is it a team game for that team? And it wasn't. But I mean, Brunson and Randall have gone off since then. Like they both can score from anywhere on the court, and I think it shows. But like our defense is way improved. It just feels like less clutter. Like everyone's just trying to get the ball and drive and make their own play. That's how it was before, and they were scoring points. But like when it comes down to it, got to put the ball in the consistent hands of your best scorers.
So he may not necessarily. Well, I even consider him a better player, but he's just a way better fit.
Basically for the team, yeah, he might score 14 a game for the whole season, which might be a win compared to Barrett scoring 22.
Yeah, but
for winning games,
exactly. He'll shut down that other number one scorer and make up those points on that end. So
yeah, I saw a thing. I was like half his points just come off of like catching and shooting, which is something that Barrett can't do very well, and neither can Quickley. So it's like Brunson drives and looks to dish to Barrett, who then catches it and just drives himself. It's like, what are we doing? Can't really space the floor as well.
You said Brunson and Randall have really done well since he came in.
Yeah.
I wonder, like you said, I wonder if it's almost just like there's kind of a clear pecking order now where Barrett's not trying to get all his shots up, and so now those guys know they got the green light and they can shoot pretty much whenever they want.
I think they brought into like DiVincenzo has been great, and like even Josh Hart, like they only have to score 10 points a game for us to kill people. It's just they hit their shots, they shoot well, they play great defense. That's all they really need to do. Brunson isn't a ball hog either. I mean, he passes too, so they're just playing really well. They beat the Sixers last week. They beat the T-Wolves. I mean, they beat top teams with like very quickly after they traded. So I mean, it's so far so good. Can change, but
so I guess it sounds like you approve of the trade now.
Seeing it on the court is a little different. Yeah, I'm still upset. Like I still like look at the Raptors box scores. I'm like, man, RJ Barrett dropped 30 tonight. Like, oh man, it hurts. But
I was gonna say, are you kind of like secretly cheering for the Raptors now because you like Quickley and Barrett so much?
I just root for them like on their own.
Yeah, unless they're not. If they're playing the Knicks, then obviously you're not going to. But
I think another part of the trade, they got Precious Achiuwa, which Mitch Robinson might be out for like the majority of the season, so they needed like another backup center. So that was a piece of it.
I've always liked Precious.
I mean, yeah, he's about average. He's what you get.
Yeah, like, but
needed a guy like that
for what he is. Like, I think he's pretty decent. Because Hartenstein's been killing it for you guys, hasn't he?
He's been great.
So like losing Robinson hasn't really been that bad.
No, we've scored a lot more since then.
Yeah,
and he can still
because Robinson's more of a defender.
Yeah.
So I guess you would say definitely sign OG this offseason then. Like
I think Randall also is in a contract year. They're gonna have to pay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so this is kind of like a prove it year for like the team.
That's interesting.
Last resort, you could just blow it up and have unlimited money because you're only paying Brunson. That's like
Yeah.
the only guaranteed. And you have a bunch of smaller deals.
Because Kawhi just signed his new deal, but like there's still some big name guys that could come, or they would of course want to play in New York.
Yeah, I think they're trying to just be flexible for whatever. But I mean, if it works and they're competing, like, there's no reason to break it up.
No, I like the mix they have going. So that's interesting. I didn't know Randall was a free agent too.
Yeah, this is the last year of his like 3-year deal. So
I know in our season preview, I was thinking of Randall as like a trade piece, but he's been playing too well to consider trading him right now, right?
I just hope it comes up in the playoffs.
Well, I say that's the thing.
That's been his trend. Like,
you could never tell.
And then 10 points every playoff game.
So how do you compare the Knicks now? Like we can kind of get into the top of the East, which I consider the Celtics, 76ers, Bucks, and Heat. Do you view the Knicks above any of those teams?
I mean, like I said, they beat the Sixers. They beat the Bucks on Christmas, like pretty handily. I think they can compete. I still think they got to you will need 25, 30 more games to like get mesh as a team. Some of these guys have been playing together for a while.
Well, and like you said, it kind of comes down to Randall. If he plays like this, then you guys got a shot. I think
we could compete with anybody.
Yeah.
If he's hitting his shots and stuff.
Well, you actually mentioned those role players that I like. If you get one of them having a great game and then one of them just average, then that's a huge bonus, and it takes some of the pressure off those big three. So I know the standings don't show it, but I don't know. I kind of view the Knicks right in that tier area with those guys. Like I think the Celtics are probably on their own tier.
Yeah,
they've been pretty amazing. But it wouldn't shock me at all if the Knicks beat either the 76ers or the Heat. And then really with the way the Bucks are playing, I wouldn't be surprised if the Knicks beat them too. So,
a little bit.
For the listeners at home, Mason and I both have a friend named Jarrett who's a big Celtics fan. I was talking to Jarrett and he was kind of making a joke like Derek White's going to be all-star. And I surprised myself by like not disagreeing with that for a second.
Yeah.
Like they just, like we were talking about how OG fits with the Knicks. They kind of just fit really well together, the starting five they have.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Have you been able to watch them at all? Like
I've kept up with them. I just really, like I said, I follow Knicks like Porzingis. I'm like a big Porzingis fan.
Yeah.
So I love to see him going off. Even though it's the Celtics, like whenever he has a good game, like there you go, I'm still always rooting for him. So it's been fun to see it actually work out. Because like I said, before the season, I was like, is he enough? But I think it's working out. Every single night, it's like a random guy on their team goes off for 40 and they kill somebody. It's like, who's it going to be tonight? Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, like.
It literally could be any of their starting five.
Derek White drops 30 every fifth night. It's like, what's going on?
And then most of those guys happen to be really good at defense too. Like they're looking really strong. Man, Derek White though, the Celtics stole him. Like I don't think they had to give up much of anything, and now you can make an argument that he's their second best player.
Yeah.
So I don't know. They've obviously, I think, pretty much been by far the best team in the East and probably the
best team
whole NBA.
Yeah.
Like they're looking good right now. So the 76ers, you mentioned the game that the Knicks whooped them.
Yeah.
I have to say, and if you're a listener and you play the drinking game where Brian makes fun of Joel Embiid, go ahead and take a drink because here it comes. The 76ers were down by 30 points or something like that with 4 minutes to go. And Embiid was still in there because he's chasing his little 30 and 10 streak. Like he's the definition of stat padding.
Yeah, he's been out past like however many games and they've been getting killed. I mean, he is like the franchise is on his back. Like
100%. And I make fun of him, but I do think that he is amazing at basketball.
It's just funny to see like that he has to stay in even.
He's so concerned about his stats and the perception and everything. But like I've talked about in my past episodes, I was so wrong on their team as a whole. I thought the whole James Harden thing was going to be a big distraction. And then once they lost him, they were going to fall apart. And then that's actually why I put money on the Knicks to win the championship before the season. because in my mind, I just saw those dominoes falling, and then I for sure thought Embiid was going to get traded to the Knicks.
Yeah.
But they've been amazing. Maxi's been amazing, and even all their old role players have been pretty solid. So I've often said on this podcast that I was wrong, but that Knicks game just made me laugh so much that he's so desperate to keep that stat streak going. But like you said, he's been missing games. And so the NBA has that new rule where you have to play a certain number of games to win MVP. And he's already kind of coming close to it. I think he can only miss like 8 more games the rest of the season or something.
When he plays, he like is the MVP though.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, you can see when he's not there, they lose by a lot.
It's like every game he plays in, it's like 40 points and 12 rebounds in 3 quarters because they're just destroying people. But like
the second he's out,
what I'm already seeing happening is the NBA implemented that rule for games played, but then they're going to see Embiid getting close to it, and they're going to be like, well, if you read the fine print,
you adjust it for like
he was really hurt this game, so it doesn't count towards his games missed towards MVP. It's like, oh, okay, we're just gonna do this and spin it so that he can get it again, but that's all right. The Bucks. So the Bucks were one of the teams that we talked about a lot in our season preview, and I think both of us picked them to go to the finals, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
If I was a good host, I would have re-listened to that episode and said that confidently.
I picked them for sure. I think my prediction was 60 games.
Yeah.
That's what I said pregame. That's not going to happen now, obviously.
Have you been able to watch them much?
I've kept up with them. I haven't watched one of their games. Like, I've kept up. They just feel streaky. Like I said, like it's not as consistent as they have been years past.
It doesn't seem to have clicked with Lillard yet. Like, I don't know what it is, but obviously the defense is way worse. Mm-hmm. And then even the offense is kind of
he's not scoring
clunky. Like they're losing to some garbage teams, and it's just like, So yeah, they're surprising in kind of a bad way. Now, obviously, no one will ever want to play them in the playoffs just because of Giannis and Lillard can do anything they want. But it is interesting to see how well or how good their defense was last year, and then they switched out Drew for Lillard, and it just seems like they can't stop anybody now. And even though Lopez, Giannis, they were all considered like defensive player of the years, and it's like it's only 6 months later, like not that much has changed except for Lillard. So it'll be interesting. And then I put the Heat in that top group, even though the standings don't say it. Like I think they're still one of the top teams. They just seem to be one of those teams. It's like
once the playoffs happen, whatever seed they are.
Exactly. They just do not care about the regular season at all, which I think a lot of teams are like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They just seem solid. And when Jimmy Butler's playing and when everybody's new favorite player, Jaime Jaquez, is playing, like they just seem like they're just a really well-rounded team. So obviously Bam is great, but let's say Celtics, Sixers, Bucks, Heat, and Knicks all finish in the top 5. Who is it most important for to get some home court games in order to advance? And who do you think, let's throw out the Celtics because I think they're obviously the best. Who do you think could probably advance no matter what?
I think come playoff time, I still think Bucks, and then I think Heat just off of like the way they play. Like even last year, they were an 8 seed last year. I mean, it just felt like the seed didn't matter. It didn't matter if they're on the road. It's like you can't stop Jimmy Butler, no matter where
I thought it was a fluke until I think you and I we were watching the Celtics game versus the Heat, and all those great, amazing Celtics offensive players couldn't do anything.
Yeah,
and it's just something about the Heat. They're just solid. So what about the Knicks? You think they need home court?
Like I said, I think they're just streaky. I think it's been that way the past 2 or 3 postseasons. Like they'll play great. They beat the Cavs last year, like great series, and they just did not do anything against the Heat. So we'll see. If they can be consistent for more than 15 games in a row, who knows? They can go anywhere.
You get hot at the right time, it's over. Now, what about the next level? Do you think anyone can jump up into that group with those top teams? So I wrote down Pacers, Cavs, Magic, Nets, Hawks, and Nets. Those are kind of like the mid-tier teams I was thinking of.
I know the Cavs were like supposed to be higher. I keep seeing that they might trade Mitchell. People keep like saying they should. I don't know if he just doesn't fit. I mean, he scored like 45 today. He still gets buckets, but
now obviously the Knicks are one of the rumored teams for him, because you would probably have to give up.
Oh, they keep putting Zach LaVine tied to the Knicks too. Like they need another score. Like, but you saw they just traded 2 scorers for somebody that doesn't score. So I mean, you can see their priorities. Like, we don't want somebody who's not going to play defense.
If you had to take one of those 2, who would you take?
I'd probably take Zach LaVine.
Interesting.
Yeah, I feel like you just lose all of Brunson if you give Donovan Mitchell the ball.
Oh, I agree with both those guys. I think both of them.
Yeah.
We talked about the fit before. That would just destroy the fit, because I think both those guys just want to shoot every time. They're both just wanting to prove that they're the man.
Yeah.
I think the Cavs are going to drop off. I think I really think they're going to trade Mitchell to somebody. I even saw a rumor they're going to trade him to the Heat. That'd be scary.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to build around Mobley and just kind of push it off for a few years, just because I think they tried to go a little too fast for, maybe they thought they were better than they were and just didn't quite work out.
I don't know. Even the Magic have good players, but I don't think they've really taken the step completely yet. I mean, I think they have the same record as like some of these teams, but I think it's
the Magic. I would actually like either LaVine or Mitchell on them, because
they need one more consistent guy like that.
Because Paolo can score, Franz some nights can score, but like if they had that one go-to guy that can get a bucket anytime, I think that'd be pretty legit. Pacers, have you watched a Pacers game?
Yeah, I have.
They just have decided we're not going to play any defense, they just want to score every single time.
I think they have the number 1 offense in the NBA.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
They give up so many points.
It's fun, but I don't view them as being able to jump into that top tier.
It's fun, like looking at like their stats, and it's like these random bench guys drop 12 a night. And you're like, oh my gosh, looks like he's awesome.
They're just it's like rec league ball basically,
pretty much.
And then Nets, Hawks. I put Nets on there twice. I guess I had Nets on the brain. Nets and Hawks. I think both of them are probably trading away players and just kind of building for the future. So I don't view them. And then the bad teams. Bulls, Raptors, Hornets, Wizards, Pistons. Yeah, I say, what would you do if you're a Pistons fan and they lost 28 in a row? Especially during a year when
I can't even imagine, like,
the draft is supposed to be weak, so it's not like you're even like heading towards Wembanyama or something.
And they had some momentum finishing last year that you like looked at and you're like, okay, I could see him like taking a step. Nope. They're still like 3-34 or something like that. Like their record is terrible.
It's weird because I like a lot of their players.
I know,
but they just never win. I think Cade is good. I like Duran, Jaden Ivey, but like when you have that many young players that don't really play well together, it's just 28 losses in a row.
The streak when it's like they're up by 15 in the fourth quarter and lose. It's like, how? Like, how does that make sense?
That one night when they were up by so much against the Celtics, like everyone became a Pistons fan. Like they were cheering for him so bad. It was pretty funny. It kind of unified everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think those other teams, like we talked about how you're a secret fan for the Raptors now. Hornets, Wizards, and Bulls are actually playing decent, but they're still
It's just mid.
Yeah. Let's move over to the West then. Top of the West, I consider the Wolves, the Thunder, the Nuggets, and the Clippers.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
Wolves have been pretty much number 1 the whole season. Thunder, I talked about, I think a few episodes ago, they're like
pushing.
So fun to watch. I love all their players. Like they are in such a good spot. And then Nuggets, obviously I love. And then the Clippers, they're playing well.
Yeah.
Like
they just signed Kawhi, and then they're trying to get what's his name too, Paul George.
Oh, I'm sure
they're trying to lock both of them in because they're playing good. When they're healthy.
Yeah,
that's been the whole problem for the years.
That's the thing is they are healthy and they're playing really well now. Westbrook has come off the bench. That's been working out really well. Harden.
He only shoots like 8 shots a game. I think he knows his role now.
I was gonna say it's interesting. So the talent's there. It's just health and if that team unity will last for another half of the season.
So we're only like 35 games in.
They're surprising though. Yeah. The Wolves their defense is legit. Like, I don't know. It seems to have come together. Last year they were kind of a joke, but this year it's
Finally
just it's just working. So, I don't know. As a Nuggets fan, as an impartial advisor, should I, as a Nuggets fan, be worried about the Wolves, Thunder, or Clippers?
I would say Clippers is probably the most. I feel like they're gonna be the most consistent. I feel like the Wolves, like in a playoff series, like Anthony Edwards right now is not a consistent star.
Yeah,
like it's 30 points, 15 points, 30 points, 15 points. Like that's why the Knicks can't win a game. It's like if Dante DiVincenzo is gonna have to score 25 for us to win a series, like we're not winning a series.
Yeah,
and it's the same. Like if Gobert has to score 20 for you to compete, it's like, come on,
that's not happening.
Yeah. I think when it comes down to it, like I said, who knows? It's still halfway through the season. They've still been winning. So,
I think they've shown kind of how good they can be, but I don't know if they can do that for the long term. The Thunder, on the other hand, I don't see any reason why they can't keep doing what they're doing.
Nah, they're good.
Shai is amazing.
Yeah, he probably is the MVP front runner in my opinion.
Yeah, if because like you said, Embiid has been absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
but Shai has been amazing for many more games.
Yeah.
His team record is better. Like, I wouldn't be mad if he was in consideration. And of course, I talked about in my last episode, they have room to make a trade if they want to, kind of go all in for this year. Well, it wouldn't even be all in; it'd just be like a small portion of their treasure chest. Yeah. But
first round picks.
How worried would you be though, making a trade and breaking up what they have? Yeah. Because what they have is working.
Mm-hmm. I could see maybe like if any injuries happen, maybe building depth, like good depth for the playoffs. But like I said, a lot of these teams, once you get your roster set for the playoffs, like they don't ever make changes unless someone's shooting hot during that time. But
that Jalen Williams kid that they have is just ridiculous. Like, I don't know what number they got him at, but
it was like 20 around that. Like that
it was
area.
late, yeah, and he's amazing.
Yeah, he's good.
He's like that, just big guard that can do everything, play defense.
Yeah.
Like I love him.
He's like Dort's, but can actually score. Like Dort.
Yeah,
can actually score.
Yeah,
which is like what they needed.
Yeah, he kind of they upgraded Dort.
Yeah.
So I think those four will probably finish as the top in some order. I wouldn't be surprised if any of them were 1 or 4. I think I would say the Thunder will probably try the hardest for the 1 seed, just because this is new for them and they're going to want to kind of play all out guys for the regular season. Now, Clippers, I think, will start, especially if the rest of the West kind of falls back a little bit and the Clippers have a few games to play with, then they'll probably start resting their guys and maybe just settle in, just being happy with home court in the first round or something.
Mm-hmm.
So in the anyone else can jump up category, I have quite a few. I have Lakers, Kings, Suns, Pelicans, Mavericks, Warriors, and Rockets, which I view all of them as very similar. The way the Jazz are playing, I could even throw them in too. But let's start with the Lakers, because not only have they had amazing health from both LeBron and AD, they won the in-season tournament.
Yeah.
But they're like
19-19, I think.
10th in the West or something like that. So like, it's not like you can point to something and be like, oh, well, if this goes their way, then they'll shoot right up. It's like they've had everything go their way so far, and it's not working. Yeah,
they just look slow.
Yeah.
Like when you watch it, like they're still really good and dominant, but they're so slow.
Yeah.
Like when they play the Thunder, they just get ran around the entire game.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, who knows?
And
that comes down to one game. It's game 7. Like Lakers are a team to beat still because it's who, but like just right now, they're just getting ran around.
Did you see the Raptors coach go crazy after they got all the it's been a stat for decades that the Lakers get just all the calls. I forget what the exact number was, but they showed free throw differential.
It's like 23.
Yeah.
For the Lakers.
Last year, it was in the hundreds last year. It was like Lakers way up here, and then everyone else was bunched in like hundreds below them. It's like, how does this happen? Like, surely the league must be like, this looks a little fishy, but it is what it is. So I love that Raptors coach going off. Kings are decent, but for some reason, there's just something about them that I don't view as elite.
No, it's like the same. They didn't have the same spark last year. I mean, they kind of went off the back half of the season. Who knows? They could turn it around. But
I saw some rumor that if they could possibly get Pascal Siakam for like Harrison Barnes and other stuff, that would bump them up quite a bit. But obviously, those rumors never happen. What's your opinion on the Suns? Because I know anyone that's listening to this podcast knows that I've talked about them way too much already.
I mean, they're definitely not deep at all. Like I said, if their main guys don't do anything, they're not winning a game. We saw Bradley Beal came back for one game, twisted his ankle, and they're like, "No." I'm like, "Well,
what do you expect though?" That's the thing.
That happens. Welcome to the real world.
Their big three have played together for like 3 games total, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're in trouble. Pelicans, I think, are solid if Zion decides to play.
I'm rooting for CJ McCollum. He's been so great this year.
Yeah, he's cool.
They have like a good little big three, Zion when he plays, Brandon Ingram and him. But like I said, who knows in a playoff series? I don't know if they'd really be dangerous, but they're playing really well.
I think they're dangerous enough where like any of those top teams, if they had to play the Pelicans, they'd be like, "Oh, come on," because none of those big stars on the top teams are going to want to face like Herb Jones and like the little who's that little point guard that steals the ball all the time?
I know you're talking about.
I can't think of his name. Alvarado. Yeah. So all these teams would like not be ideal to play, but it's going to be a bloodbath.
Out of that list, I feel like they're the one team that could potentially be a higher seed than like 6 or 7.
Warriors, I think they're falling apart.
Yeah.
Like they're just
Chris Paul's out for like 2 months. Not that he was even doing too much, but
Draymond went to the magic therapy where all of a sudden he's a new person after 2 weeks. It's like, come on. It's like just a show. Mavs, they have 2 really good players and then a bunch of
mid.
Yeah. And then the Rockets are fun. Like, have you watched a Rockets game?
I've watched one.
I love like a lot of their young players, especially because they've kind of told Jalen Green, like, you're not a superstar. Like, let's pass the ball a little bit.
Yeah, he's definitely like his points are going to go down a ton this year, but he doesn't shoot half as much.
But Sengun is legit.
He's really good.
Jabari Smith, Tari Eason, like they have a lot of young players. If it wasn't for the Thunder, the Rockets would be like, oh yeah, we're the team of the future. But no. So yeah, I don't know. None of those teams really jump out as someone who could jump up, but you never know. Trades could be coming, injuries, whatever. And then the meh category, like I said, the Jazz have been playing really well, but I still have them down there. Grizzlies, they lost Morant. Trailblazers are never trying to win. And the Spurs
can't win.
Yeah, they don't care. They're happy they got Wembanyama and they're going to get another draft pick.
He is so good though.
He is.
Yeah.
Triple-double the other night. He's going to have a quadruple-double at some point, like with how many blocks he gets and everything. So it'll be interesting. Do you view him, like, do you ever see him getting a post game where he's like really down low a lot? Or do you kind of see him, his post game is more so like he'll just fade away and jump over people, but not necessarily like try and bang with people?
I think he'll actually have a really good game inside in like a year or two. I think it's just fast for him right now.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have the size to like body anybody. But like I said, once it's finesse, like he could just shoot over anybody's head, roll off anybody, fade away. Like he can do anything. If you watch the games, I mean, like he shoots a 3 and then 2 steps he can drive and make a layup. It's like, what the heck?
I know.
How do you guard that?
I've been impressed. Like all the hype, I was like, oh, no way he's this good.
He's just fun to watch, if anything. Like I can watch their games. I don't even care what's going on. Just watch him play. It's like,
he's so different.
Stupid.
Bennett, my son, was watching that Spurs Bucks game with me like a week or two ago. And he's like, who's that short guy? I was like, that's Giannis. He is not short. Like, it's just, he makes everybody look.
Greek freak.
That's exactly. So, yeah, it's fun watching him. I can't wait to see what he looks like in like 2 or 3 years. All right. So, we talked about all 30 teams.
We did.
We're covering everybody. So, let's do. Actually, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Nick Saban and Bill Belichick retired, or I guess Belichick's not retiring. He'll move on to somewhere else. So the NBA equivalent of that is Popovich.
Yeah.
So after him, though, like let's say Popovich leaves in the next couple of years, who is the next like
great.
That's an all-time great coach.
Probably Spoelstra.
See, that's what I thought too, but he still seems so young.
He just got signed like an 8-year extension.
Yeah.
Yesterday. I think it'll be the same when he retires. Like in however many years, you'll look at him and be like, oh my, he was great.
If he sticks around. Yeah. But there's definitely a big gap.
It's just all younger coaches.
Yeah. Which
I feel like that you have like 2 years to prove yourself or you're done.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like a.
And it really seems like you have to, it doesn't even matter if you're necessarily a great in-game coach.
Yeah.
You just have to handle all the egos.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole thing is like, just make sure everybody's happy. But yeah, speaking of the Thunder, I love their coach. I think he's awesome.
He just fits their identity pretty well.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's Lily Popovich, and I feel like big drop off. Spoelstra, big drop off, and I can't even name like third. Like
because like Spoelstra, I agree. I think he's probably the best coach, but I don't even know if I would call him like legendary right now. Like
I think by the time he's done, he could be.
Yeah, hopefully. But yeah, that's got me thinking like, man, all of like the greatest coaches are kind of stepping away.
Yeah, it's weird.
Pete Carroll's in there too.
But yeah, like I would say it's not like the big three, but like Belichick's ran the NFL for years and years.
Mm-hmm.
Saban's ran college football like the same 24 hours. Like, oh my gosh, what just happened?
So yeah,
I haven't watched the NFL without Belichick my entire life.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
because he was
like even watching football. Like when I started watching football, Saban was famous coach. Like I've never even really seen.
That's so true.
Without either of them.
That's well, A, that makes me feel old, but B, that's really crazy. Yeah, that's gonna be weird. You haven't really known a time when Alabama wasn't amazing. Mm-mm. That's fun. Well, as a Georgia fan, you probably really are looking forward to that.
So hey, when Popovich is done, the Spurs it'd be the same vibes with the Spurs. Like, what is he with their team? Like, their identity. What even is it?
I bet if they hadn't have got Wembanyama, he might have stepped away already too. But why would you not want to coach that guy?
Yeah.
So I know that was random, but what about let's finish up with some predictions. Let's start out with the West. Again, I don't remember who we picked preseason, but let's set our new predictions now that we have a half a season of information in front of us. So who's going to be in the Western Conference Finals for you?
I think it's still Nuggets, but I think it's Clippers. Mainly just because I feel like age and just being in the playoffs, I feel like that's, to me, still valuable in the NBA.
So I agree on the Nuggets, but I'm actually going to go with Thunder. Like, they're just so impressive.
I could see either one, but like I said, I feel like when it comes to the 7-game series,
they're so young though, so obviously it wouldn't shock me if they lose in the first round too. But what about the East? Who's going to be in the Eastern Finals?
I think it'll be just Bucks Celtics.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't see anybody, at least the first couple rounds, beating the Celtics. I think I could definitely see the Bucks getting it together. They're still like on paper, roster wise, like one of the best teams.
So I'm not just saying this because you're here, but I actually think it's going to be Celtics Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals.
I would like that. That would be good.
But yeah, I think Celtics are just a level above. So I guess we'll both agree that the Celtics probably make the finals out of the East.
Yeah.
And then who out of the West?
I think it's still Nuggets.
That's what I think too.
Yeah.
And then if those guys match up, Celtics Nuggets, who do you think takes it down?
I'm not picking the Celtics. I'll take the Nuggets. I'll tell you, they're going to choke at some point. They got 4 rounds to do it.
There we go. Rounds. That's what they do.
Yeah.
I hope that happens too. So I'll take the Nuggets as well. And then halfway through the season, I know you said Shai could be the MVP. Do you think he finishes out and wins it? Or who do you think is going to win MVP?
I think it's going to be, if the Pacers can like have a decent record, I think it's going to be really close between him and Halliburton.
Oh, Halliburton's amazing.
Mainly just because like their offense scores 130 and
he's like so good. So. That one game where he had like 20-20 with 0 turnovers. Yeah. I love that.
I know it's a big stat based league now. I feel like their offense is crazy and it's mainly because of him. I could see him being if they're like a 4, maybe they pull out like to be like the 4 seed in terms of being most valuable. Like it could be him. But
I could see a storyline starting in the second half of the season where the Celtics just have such an amazing record, and they're like, "Well, it's Tatum's time." Like because last year was all about the story. They had to make it a good story for whoever was the MVP.
Yeah.
So they're going to be like, "Ooh, Tatum." But if it's not Tatum, then I would not be surprised if Embiid got it again.
Yeah, that's what like before. Is Embiid? He's just in terms of being most valuable. Like if you watch him play, like they're not the same team without him. So,
but that'll make it all the more sweeter when he loses in the first round.
MVP swept. Like, yeah, who knows?
Well, cool. And then so last thing I want to ask you is I always want to ask for recommendations as far as like either a follow on social media or a platform that you've discovered since we did the season preview. But is there anyone that you've been enjoying as far as basketball coverage this year?
No, I wouldn't say anything specific. I do think like just going and watching games versus just like looking at box score shows a lot too.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the media, they just go off stats now. So like you actually have to go physically watch it and stuff.
Have you had a chance to watch the NBA Crunch Time? Like it's like NBA's version of Red Zone?
No, I haven't seen it.
I've only watched it for a few minutes one night, and it just happened to be a game or a night when like the games really weren't that exciting. So it obviously didn't like grab you like Red Zone kind of does. But I hope they can kind of perfect that and make that a thing, because obviously if they could have a Red Zone style NBA show on all night, that'd be pretty great.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I feel like the general sports media is kind of like taken away from the sport recently. So I've kind of just been like, just trying to stick to the actual sport and not actually see it from like Bleacher Report or whatever. I feel like
that's good.
It's storylines instead of like actual sports.
Yeah, it's more about their agendas than anything.
So
that's cool.
I used to be like big into, but now I'm kind of just following along.
Well, maybe we'll have to do this again once the playoffs are getting closer and we can pick who we're going to win for a third time. But cool, man. I appreciate you coming by.
Yeah, appreciate you having me.
And hopefully your Knicks can keep playing
5 in a row
all the way to the finals, like I said.
Losing at 40.
All right. Thanks, Mason.
Appreciate it.